let's talk about tower moments. So you can see here depicted on this tower card that we have this gentleman who is kind of falling off of this tower backwards, and that's what these feel like. Like everything is kind of crumbling around us. And here, I'll hold it up if you want to see a closer depiction. Okay. He's being disrobed right now as well. So with tower moments, this is when you tell the universe, I'm ready for change. This is after you hit that dark night of the soul of feeling very lost and confused and why are things not resonating like they once did. I need to make changes in my life. And the universe says, bet. Okay. And things in your life start to get stripped away. That is career, family members, and kind of with family members. Family members are like a weird dichotomy sometimes because a lot of them rock with you through life. Okay, there's like no getting around being with your family members. But sometimes we do need to shift the time and energy that we are spending with certain persons, okay? Or maybe not spending time with persons at all, depending on where you're at with your boundaries and things that have happened in your life. But I digress. This is just things in your life going awry. And you're like, what the heck, universe? I said that I want changes. I want things to be better in my life. I want to up level. I want to upgrade. I want my manifestations. A lot of the things that are in our life are probably not in congruence with the identity that is a vibrational frequency match with those desires that you have, or those goals, or the things that you want to achieve. Maybe this is toxic friends that we have in our life, or that we're not holding good boundaries with. Maybe it is a career that is not going to serve us for the long term. It can be behavioral patterns that we are exhibiting, or actions that we are taking or not taking. Us not wanting to process our emotions or having a difficult time with that, and the universe is saying, well, we're gonna have to look at all that stuff. We're gonna have to process through it. And it doesn't even have to be things necessarily falling away. It can also be just weird, random, perceived negative experiences happening. It feels like things are actually getting worse after you made that instantaneous decision of, I'm ready to quantum jump. And you're like, why is everything going downhill all of a sudden? Well, that is actually a representative of you about to go into a whole completely different timeline and into a new reality. You just cannot take anything with you that is on a lower vibrational state than where you are going to. You literally cannot take it with you. And sometimes that is objects, homes, careers, friends, all those things that we stated before, they gotta go. And that can be really heartbreaking and disconcerting. There can be a lot of grief that comes with that as well, or shame or guilt. It can be a big process to go through. I have been through that multiple times in my life, and when I'm going through it, it feels very heavy and confusing and makes you kind of even feel more lost in the moment. But whenever I pop out on the other side, I'm like, oh yeah, of course that had to happen. Of course I couldn't take all these things with me because they're not in alignment or congruence with this new version and facet of myself. It's not always people or places or things. Sometimes it's also thought patterns that you're having, or again, behavioral patterns that you're exhibiting, or numbing behaviors, or you not eating great foods, or not having physical activity or exercise. We have to kind of look at, and we're going to talk about this in quantum manifestation, but we have to look at, who is this higher self version that we are trying to become? What does their life look like? What are they doing? Probably not all the things that you're doing right now. Okay? For like a very silly goose example, I used to throw my clothes on the floor a lot. I've been getting better about it. I've got hampers for everywhere. Some of that's the ADHD. But in those moments when I catch myself and I'm conscientious and I get to decide to have a different action, I can ask myself, would the higher self that I am working on becoming, that identity, the type of energy that I want to exude, would she be throwing her clothes on the floor? Probably not. Or I went to the grocery store the other day because I'll be honest, I haven't been eating great recently. I've been eating out a lot and eating some like heavier foods. And when I went this time, before I just went straight into the grocery store and started shopping, I really sat down with myself and said, what does the next level Sage, what is she ingesting? What is she eating? How is she taking care of herself? I also did that with exercise because I hadn't been exercising like I do in the past. And I don't mean hardcore going to the gym and pumping my iron, but we need to be going on some walks. Yeah, I used to go on hour-long walks all the time, and it made me feel so good. And so I started back with that because that's what that next level Sage is doing. She is taking time in her day every single day to do something for her physical body so that she feels better, so that I feel better, so that she's more of an open channel, getting grounded out in nature, right? Now, recently, I said, what is that next level Sage doing? And she said, I'm doing more intensive workouts. You want to be more expansive in your channeling abilities and what you're able to receive? Well, your body's got to be stronger. And so I sat down the other day and started doing some ab workouts and doing some squats and doing some lunges because that's what she's doing. Right? And that's what she told me she's doing. And so I've got to start incorporating that. Now, is that something that you incorporate immediately? Sometimes not. Sometimes it is, well, let me do it one day this week. Let me start to do it 2 days. Let me start to do it 3 days. And then we start to build that muscle and we start to become that higher self more and more and more over time. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're just doing those things automatically, right? For an example, I did those lunges and those squats and my legs were burning. Okay, they were done. And I didn't do it the next day. Me in the past would have felt a lot of shame and guilt over that. And I said, hey, it's not really about needing to do it continuously every single day. It's let's start incorporating this where we can, when we can, when we feel that ping. It doesn't have to be every single day. We're not going to always shift completely overnight. What we can do is when our higher self says, hey, instead of scrolling on TikTok, maybe we could do some ab workouts, even if it's only for 10 minutes, and throw on some like happy, positive music and then do it then. Right now, we're doing it 2 times a week, 3 times a week, and now it's incorporated into our full routine. That's with anything. That's with your thoughts, with your behavioral patterns, with hanging out with new people or trying new experiences or applying to new jobs or making different decisions with your finances, buying different things from the grocery store. We don't always have to go full throttle, 1,000,000% in. Sometimes that is setting us up for failure because when we start to kind of berate ourselves and feel shameful and guilty, how about we take a breath and we say, when can I incorporate these things when I really feel a pull and my higher self is speaking to me and saying like, hey, why don't we do this instead? Making those conscientious decisions of, you know what, I am going to do something different right now than I normally would do because that's the only way that I'm going to shift into the new reality. If I'm making different decisions, we've got to do different things to have different results. But we also have to understand that some of these things we have been participating in or programmed with or interacting with for years and years and years and years. And so we have to sometimes slowly release these things, and that's okay too. Some things are instantaneous. There have been many a thing in my life where I'm like, I'm done with that. We're not doing that anymore. Okay? And then there are other times where it's a slower process. Or sometimes I oscillate back to those old behavioral patterns, and it's easier to let go of the next time because I've already been through that process. But I have to make sure that I'm not shaming and guilting myself for going back. The important thing is that we're recognizing that that's a behavioral pattern that is non-preferable and that we have the opportunity and the tools and resources to work through that process again through a lot more ease and grace and understanding while showing ourselves a lot of love. That makes it a lot easier, okay? So we want to do these things. Like we need to push ourselves, obviously. We need to be making those conscious decisions to do different things, but also taking the time that you need